It's interesting too because that is a very haunting painting, but you're seeing kind of people meeting for the first time and being in love. But then it also, unfortunately, is a little predictive of what, the family is in store for.
Hi, Lori. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you, Nicole?
I'm good, thank you. Well, I want to say thank you so much for sharing your time with me this morning.
Thank you.
When I first saw the trailer for this back in August, I was so excited to see it. I'm such a big fan of thrillers, and it's such a fantastic film. So congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We're really excited about it. I'm also a little nervous, but we are definitely excited.
Absolutely. Well, I want to start off by chatting about McKenna Grace's character, Birdie, because I think she's in
Yes.
such a unique position, being the youngest out of her other three siblings and almost kind of being confined within the walls of this turmoil that her parents are going through in the home.
Yeah.
So, when you were writing her character, what were the most important character qualities or emotions you wanted Birdie to show to kind of grow this story for herself?
I thought of her as a child of the pandemic. I'd seen so many kids that were, unable to be with their peers and be in the settings that we've all grown up in, and you may have even experienced that. You look really young, but seeing a lot of neighbors, and so I felt like she was an isolated kid who really had a passion for science. I think I wrote it during the pandemic. That was the influence, and so. She's definitely a product of it. But the film takes place between the 25th and 30th anniversary, so there's a big growth for her specifically, being what, like a 15-year-old to 20 by the end. But yeah, I think she's isolated and sensitive and passionate. And in the film, she's experiencing kind of her first love, but it's kind of the kind of love through a gas mask, metaphorically. And then she just adores her family and she sees them becoming torn apart. So she really feels vulnerable to the heartache that she's experiencing. And she is the person that is, sitting on the stairs and behind the walls and kind of listening to everybody. She starts through the course of the film finding her voice. And of course, where she eventually goes to in her arc is, something that is pretty surprising, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, all the
She's great,
characters.
by the way, Mckenna Grace. She's just fantastic. I mean, she works. I don't know if she gets a break. She continually works. It's just amazing.
Right. She's only a few years younger than me, I believe, and I feel like I've grown up watching her on my screen, and every
Yeah.
time I see her, she just blows me away in any performance she does.
Absolutely. I know she's really a roller skater, by the way. That's why Jan used that in the film. Like there's a lot of stuff on her on Instagram of her doing kind of like tricks and roller skates, which is really funny. She's a singer, like she's a multi-talented actor. So
Absolutely. Now, during Paul's anniversary speech, he references the moment he first met Ellen in front of René Magritte's The Lovers. So, without giving away any spoilers, of course, what specifically drew you to pick that painting to include in the film?
yeah, that was my whole inspiration actually thematically because The Lovers is a very intimate picture of two people who are seemingly in love. You can tell by their body language, but they're shrouded. And what you sort of have to kind of put your mind to and kind of figure out is what is oppressing them. What are those outside forces outside the frame? And that's really the whole framework for Anniversary. So that in specifically is why I used it. I also wanted to give a little bit of a nod towards things in the film that you see later on. So it was also that. Originally, the script, I will just say, opened at MoMA with that painting and seeing that kind of image of love and first meeting. And then it was kind of cut in a different way. For Jan chose to use it a different way, but it really important. That was, and I sent that to Jan really early on and said, and he loved it, and so yeah, it kind of grew from there.
Even just the visual of when he talks about it in the anniversary speech is such a beautiful piece of imagery, imagining these two meeting at the painting, and then, of course, where the framework, like you said, goes into the film. But I thought that was such a wonderful choice.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, it's interesting too because that is a very haunting painting, but you're seeing kind of people meeting for the first time and being in love. But then it also, unfortunately, is a little predictive of what, the family is in store for without giving anything away. And So, and that's, so anyway, it was the perfect sort of thing to kind of express that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's a line I wrote down when I was watching the film that Liz says near the beginning, which is rage fuels the writing. Now you mentioned a moment ago that you wrote this during the pandemic, but I'm curious, so was that the first spark for the story for you? And what emotions did you face while you were writing this script yourself?
Wow, that's really an interesting question. I will say that the writing process during the pandemic did not afford Jan and I obviously to be in the same room. I was going to fly to Poland or he was going to fly to Los Angeles or meet somewhere in between. So we had a lot of conversations, but it was almost impossible to talk about development when so much was going on in the world. So we were talking about spreading viruses and Italian musicians on their balconies and everything we were seeing and the fear and, just everything, the devastation of it. And we were talking about just populism taking root in different pockets of the globe and, whether they were far right leaning or far left leaning, that was definitely cropping up in a lot of, and it has historically in the past. So all the, and living in a bubble, all these things are very much seen throughout the film. It's definitely you can, I think, see that it was written during the pandemic. But in terms of rage fueling the writing, yeah, I think there was a lot of things going on. This was pre-election, the film. But I think there's a lot that's changed with just how we you know, uh, the idea of viral rumors going and conspiracies and all those things, and people's beliefs and where they get their information. It is it's very much and caused these rifts and these divisions. It certainly happened within Jan's family. He publicly says that. It definitely happened within mine. We didn't speak to my husband's parents over just sort of ideological political issues, which is really sad and nothing that we wanted. I'm happy to say that as time has passed, but it was, that's the part that was heartbreaking. And, you're constantly kind of trying to defend the position and not offend anyone and doing, so it was a lot of rage for all of us in so many different ways, no matter, what your beliefs are. So, and whether it's like, motivated through a religious reason or what have you. So I think rage is something Americans have all, sort of have now in their DNA, not just, but as that thing that just hits because we've gone through so much. So yeah, so rage does. I laughed when I wrote that line actually because, but I think it's so pointed towards Ellen, her old instructor. So
Well, I think that's what makes film so powerful too, is when you can relate to emotions, regardless if it's whether in the same context or not. But
yeah.
emotions are just so powerful in that sense, and seeing them on screen brought to life like that just makes it all the more powerful to watch.
No, thank you. Well, and I also think it was very important for Liz's character, played by Phoebe Dynevor, that she had a lot of passion and she had actually good intentions. And I know everyone talks about the revenge thriller portion of it, which is there, obviously, but also I think, down in the core, there is a great admiration for her professor and a love and a wanting to, be part of the family. So I think there's a lot of sort of uh, you know, um, depthful like character work that she did for that character and really mining her and making it about not just like one thing. So I think she's just amazing. I mean, the camera just there's so much going on just in her expressions. So and honestly, all the actors were just pitch perfect. It was such a pleasure, honestly. Diane's the first person who came on board, and she became the matriarch of the Taylors, and everyone kind of followed and wanted to work with her, and it was just like the perfect coming together of the best, actors for this piece, and they just embodied the Taylors. So,
It's such a wonderful ensemble cast,
yeah,
absolutely.
it is. I agree.
I have to wrap here in a moment, but I did want to follow up on talking about Liz's character because what I think one of the most haunting, kind of great starts to it, even in the trailer, is with Liz talking in the mirror to herself. And I think it's
Mhm.
interesting because it sets that scene that she is kind of the villain in the story from the get-go. But her
Mhm.
arc is so interesting throughout this film. I'm curious for you, what was your favorite part of writing her character and kind of writing this arc maybe that she goes on?
Well, because the film is contained and we had a contained budget and it primarily takes place in the Taylor home, I wanted to come in with a very fertile backstory with her, that she had a history with Ellen, instead of having to explain I'm the new person and interloper in the family. So that was very important to her arc. But she comes in very different than she was as a student. She's very poised, and it's difficult to dislike her. I think she holds her own at that campfire scene with everyone else that's her age, and standing behind Josh. But in terms of her arc, I think she strongly believes in the movement, and the she really wants to do good, and she really wants to bridge the gap. I think in America, and in the parties, and come together. I think it's a very altruistic kind of thing, but I think she is maybe blind to a little bit of experience with that, and how that becomes corrupted by big business or a think tank or somebody who comes and weaponizes it. So her arc, and then, what also ends up happening, and I won't give it all away, but, power also gets parlayed out when that happens, and you see big changes with other people in the story, including Josh. And so, you see kind of what happens to her through the course of it. The rage in the mirror was a lot of things. I think it was where she felt boxed in, contained, unaccepted, and she lets it out there. You know what I mean? So we still see the passionate, radical student who has something to say, and needs to let it out. So yeah, so that is kind of where that all comes from. It's very hard to arc all characters from when you meet them to the very end, when you're taking time off and family, and you're only coming in one family celebration a year to see that arc.
Yeah,
That was a huge challenge in the writing. So hopefully, the arc, you know, um, helps, and it feels motivated, because that is a challenge in writing.
absolutely. It completely does.
Yeah. Oh, good. I like to hear that.
Well, I have to wrap here, but Lori, thank you so, so much for your time. I appreciate it. Congratulations on the film. I'm such a big fan of it.
Oh, Nicole, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I had a great time talking to you. So thank you.